this happen? What's the path that led me to this place? And I think about my first campaign for office. I now live in Chicago. A couple of Chicagoans in the house. Why go into politics? And we understand the question because at some level, all of us, even those of us who are involved in politics, have become cynical about public life and government. We have a sense that politics is a business and not a mission. That power, especially in Washington, is always trumping principle. We feel as if our leadership is long on rhetoric, but short on follow-through, and so over time, we get discouraged. Half of us don't vote. It was built with a very simple idea, that every individual has dignity. Every individual has worth. And we have obligations not only to ourselves, but to each other, in order to make sure that that worth and dignity is recognized. That we're connected as a people, regardless of race and faith and region. That if there is a child or children in New Hampshire who are living in poverty and going to poor schools and have poor prospects for the future, that diminishes all of us. And so why wouldn't we take the steps that are necessary to make sure that every child has basic preventative care so that they don't have to go to the emergency room for treatable illnesses like asthma. And we could make sure that that money goes to ensure that every single American, the 45 million Americans in this country who don't have health insurance, get it. In fact, there's no reason why we can't do that by the end of the next president's first term. By the end of my first term as president, we will have universal health care in this country. It is time for us to turn the page on a health care system that's broken. A lack of an energy policy. Why are we sending $800 million a day in oil money to some of the most hostile nations on earth? Why are we funding both sides of the war on terrorism and in the bargain melting the polar ice caps and fundamentally changing the plan of the climate? Young people all across the country, they know that it's their generation that's going to have to help fix this problem, and they know what to do. If we increase fuel efficiency standards on cars to 40, 45 miles per gallon, we would have to import zero oil from the Middle East. None. Zero. That's something that we can do. We can turn the page on that. We can invest in solar and wind and biodiesel and alternative fuels and cap greenhouse gases being emitted from power plants and industries. And by doing so, we can actually create entire new industries in green technology that help drive our economy for decades to come. That's a vision of the future that the young people of America are hungry for. And we know that even in our foreign policy, as bleak as it is, people recognize that the day this president steps down from office, the entire world will breathe a sigh of relief. And over 3,400 lives. And on this, our Memorial Day, when we remember the fallen, we have to insist that all of us revere the troops, all of us understand the enormous sacrifices that they have made. There has not been a single thing that the U.S. military has been asked to do that they have not accomplished. At each and every juncture, our young men and women have shown extraordinary valor and extraordinary courage. But we also understand that one of the ways to say thank you is to make sure that we're providing our military with a strategy that works. That we have not made ourselves more safe. That our standing in the world is diminished, and that there's no reason why we can't make sure that we are as careful getting out as we were careless getting in, but recognize that it is time for us to bring our troops home. And they've done their job. It is time for us to bring our troops home. And while we're at it, when we bring them home, let's make sure that we treat them with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. Let's make sure that they're getting the services that they need. Don't make our veterans fight for disability payments. Don't make them fight for mental health services. It leads with its values and it leads with its ideals. It leads because of that basic premise that we started with, that everybody has worth and everybody has dignity, and that concept doesn't end at our own borders. You know, a while back in March, I was in Selma, Alabama, and I was there to celebrate the 42nd anniversary of the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, also known as Bloody Sunday. And some of you may remember this story, in which a hardy band of civil rights activists, led by John Lewis, who was then a SNCC organizer, young college student, decided to march to the courthouse for voting rights in Alabama, in Selma. And they went across the bridge and were confronted by tear gas and billy clubs and horses, and they were beaten within an inch of their lives. John Lewis almost died that day. And they were turned back and they staggered back. And that's why it's known as Bloody Sunday. And I'm sure that on that day, a lot of people lost hope. Some of them said, you know, maybe we can't reverse Jim Crow. Maybe this country will never live up to the meaning of its creed. But you know, something else happened. Millions of people on that day watched. Structure in American history, that's how changes happen. Because millions of voices have come together. That's how we ended slavery in this country. That's how women got to vote in this country. That's how unions got the right to organize in this country. That's how the civil rights movement perfected this union. That's how we brought an end to the war in Vietnam. That's how we're going to bring an end to the war in Iraq. That's how we're going to remake America. New Hampshire, if you will stand with me and make this your cause, make this a vehicle for your hopes and your dreams, then I am absolutely confident that not only are we going to win an election, we are going to transform this country and transform the world in the process. Thank you very much, everybody.